I'm Tiffany. Welcome to Towering TBR. All right, this is episode 2 of my top 5, where I talk about 5 books I highly recommend that are following a specific topic. Today's topic, you can see, is favorite books about shipwrecks. So let's just get right into it. At number 5, I am offering my only fiction option, and it is called Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. This is a YA novel about 4 different characters, and they are all making their way to get to a boat during World War II so that they can escape the advancing Russians. It is based on a true story, and it is called The Greatest Tragedy in Maritime History, and it occurred in 1945. So many people were on the boat. It was overloaded well beyond capacity because they were trying to flee the advancing Russian soldiers. It was meant to hold 2,000, but ended up having over 10,000 people on it. It was then sunk by a military operation, and a huge amount of children drowned. I hadn't heard anything about this before, but I thought this book was really well written and was really informative about this shipwreck. Number 4 is In the Heart of the Sea by Nathaniel Philbrick. He is a well-known narrative nonfiction writer, and this is about the sinking of the whaling vessel called the Essex. That real-life event is what inspired Herman Melville to write his book, Moby Dick. So in 1820, the Essex ship sailed out of Nantucket and went whaling, which is an absolutely disgusting process and is super unsanitary. So,
ew, gross.
Be forewarned on that. The vessel was repeatedly rammed by a sperm whale and was ultimately sunk. They had to try and find safety in 3 tiny lifeboats. They were at sea for a long time with lack of food and water, and ultimately some decided to cannibalize their others just to stay alive. I remember thinking that for a nonfiction, this was such a page turner. I always thought nonfiction was a bit slow and dry, but this was neither. Excellent book. At number 3, I'm recommending Dead Wake, The Last Crossing of the Lusitania by Erik Larson. In 1915, during the First World War, Germany had declared war on England, and including the seas that are around England. There was a passenger luxury liner, the Lusitania, coming from New York and was on its way making a journey to the UK. The passengers were a bit nervous, but the captain felt confident that because this was a civilian ship, he thought that they would have safe passage in the waters, and even if they didn't, his ship was very fast, and he felt confident he could outrun anyone trying to attack. He did not account for U-boats, though, and unfortunately, a U-boat shot a torpedo at the Lusitania, and it sunk very quickly. This was an incredibly tense book, again, not narrative nonfiction, and I found it incredibly entertaining and informative. At number 2, I'm recommending 438 Days by Jonathan Franklin. This is a harrowing story about a man surviving at sea for 438 days. He and another were shark fishermen and had gone out because the fishing was good. It was so plentiful, and they felt like they were going to make it rich. They had gone out twice before and decided to make a third trip, even though a storm was coming. He was a very experienced fisherman and felt he had weathered storms before and he would be fine to do it again. Unfortunately, this was a very strong storm, and the engine on the boat broke and he was pushed out to open seas. He had previously been in kind of a lagoon area. They were at the mercy of the winds. They had to set up traps to try and catch seabirds and turtles, and they also had to wait for rain in order to have fresh water. This was a thrilling survival story, and it was so vividly told. I could feel the salty, cold sea spray on my skin, the cracking blisters from sunburn from the sun beating down, and all of the injuries that they sustained during really bad weather. This was quite thrilling to read and definitely would recommend it. And lastly, number 1, I am putting my favorite shipwreck story, Endurance, Shackleton's Incredible Adventure by Alfred Lansing. In 1914, Ernest Shackleton, a well-known explorer, decides he is going to set out to go down to Antarctica. Unfortunately, that area is quite dangerous and is very icy, and his ship got stuck in sheets of ice and it was ultimately sunk. Shackleton and his 27 men had little lifeboats and they tried to get themselves to salvation. Or they tried to get themselves to civilization. There were aggressive seals and whales, lack of food and water and other supplies. There were so many twists and turns. This felt like a very quickly paced book, but all based on real stories. I was on the edge of my seat reading this and would absolutely recommend it. It's my favorite shipwreck story that I've read. All right, just a quick little video to talk about my favorite shipwreck survival stories. Are there any I missed? Tell me, what kinds of shipwreck or survival stories are your favorites? Let's have a chat down in the comments below. Bye.